very many overtaking opportunities. The fact you put it on pole position, you've surely got one foot in front of the other at this point.
Yeah, but I think tire management is also like a key factor, especially in this game, because tire wear really does affect a lot of things. So the strategy will be interesting, whether you want to do a 1 or 2 stop to have a tire advantage or not.
And of course, pole position for you. Where's a good finishing position for you in the race? I mean, the obvious answer is a race win, but what's your target for today?
I guess just top 3. I won't expect too much, because I have some fast guys right behind me chasing me down, and who knows, maybe some crazy things will happen.
It's the Creator
so
Series.
Just hope for a podium. Yeah,
it's Creator Series. Always something crazy happens, Grid Jokes. Well, hopefully we get to see you on display and hopefully get that podium. Grid Jokes will let you get ready for the race. Thank you so much for chatting to us, and good luck in the race. Singapore on top then in Japan. And well, it's a great lap from Grid Jokes. He said himself it's probably due to the car. I refute that. That was definitely all driver skill. Hey, Tom.
He's always been a really decent qualifier. Obviously, he's not started this high before, but I don't think that's too out of the blue to see that Grid Jokes is starting from pole position, especially considering he's in a Mercedes, which should be fairly decent around this circuit. Obviously, like he alluded to, the big question mark is how many positions can he hold on to? Because now he's the one that has a target on his back. He's got championship protagonists chasing him down, trying to pick up as many points as he possibly can. And how is he going to deal with being in this position for the first time in the Creator Series? It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, he's going to be the chase down towards turn 1 and 2. We've already talked about how notoriously difficult it can be. There's not really a braking zone into a turn 1, John, but you know, is he going to have his eyes on the mirrors with 19 others swarming behind him down towards turn 1?
Well, there's not an opportunity to overtake necessarily down into turn 1, but the main problem is there's not necessarily an opportunity to get away either, because that sector 3, and especially with the DRS zone in the pit straight, it just means that anybody can just use the slipstream to get back on pace with you. And so definitely through the first stint, I think probably Grid Jokes will just try and defend the position and just try and keep the opportunity open for any strategy that might happen. It depends what tire you start on as well, because we talk about the car a lot, but you have to drive it to put it on pole. So he's done a good job driving, let's put it that way. But also, if you choose the wrong strategy of tires, you open yourself up to disastrous consequences if, for example, a safety car comes too soon, or indeed if you just find yourself with bad traction off the line.
So we obviously saw that in that qualifying session, not to bring it up again, but Alex Gillen starting P15. He's got a lot on his plate to really recover what could be a massive points deficit this late on into the season. But over the Alex Gillen, I know he'll pop up with a result, but what do you expect from him today?
This isn't the first time he's been towards the back of the grid. Remember in Mexico, qualified 16th, won the race and won it pretty comfortably as well. He's also been 17th, he's been 15th this season as well. So qualifying hasn't necessarily been his strong suit, especially in that Sauber car. He has struggled a little bit for one-lap pace. It's the race pace where we see the consistency, the race IQ and the racecraft from Alex Gillen really come to the fruition, and the strategy as well, one of the best when it comes to making the calls strategy-wise. So I would not be surprised. Maybe it might take him a little bit of time to work his way through, but we'll get to lap 2025, and I think we might be seeing Alex Gillen just interloping inside the top 5.
We heard Vince, well, at least I heard Vince, John, say that qualifying was a bitterly disappointing. He was really disappointed with the lap he put in. Made it into the top 10, but as someone who's, got that outside chance and chasing down a place within that top, now, how does that affect your mentality when you come off not a bad lap or a not so great lap in qualifying? How does that affect you going into the race start?
Well, with his experience, it shouldn't affect him too much. The best drivers can reset, can just go, okay, it didn't work out, but the race is a different thing. You're starting with fuel, the balance will be different. Perhaps it's their time to shine. Obviously, when you look at the sector times, when you're having a difficulty getting consistent lap times in, it's just one sector every single time where the pace just failed. That's not too bad, because the pace is there and you can just go for it.
Well, the Japanese Grand Prix in the Creator Series is almost upon us, so let's run you through the grid of today's Grand Prix.
Wow. Beautiful Suzuka in the background, the cherry blossoms fluttering and we will take a look at the starting group as we load into our 53-lap race. Len's the GOAT, second appearance this season, but qualifying on the back row. Super Noodle Bagel also returning, but he joins the McLaren right at the back of the grid. Just in front of him, Jorik van Gether, remember a winner in the Creator Series previously. The Monaco Master can't quite get up to standards here in Suzuka, and he's got the second McLaren, the lead McLaren of Chesnoy Gale for company in 17th. Two big guns starting on row 8 in Fratic. The 5th time he's qualified in the bottom 5 places so far this season, and Alex Gillen starting from 15th for the second time this season. They've got a hell of a lot of work to do to work their way forward. Matty D13, worst qualifying of the season for him, and Concept 7, a bit of a bump back down to earth after his pole position and some very decent performances in recent weeks over 1 lap. Just ahead of those two, Matt 212 starting to find the groove in the Creator Series, but missed out on the top 10, and Tuki was ever so close to making it into the final part of qualifying, just getting bumped right at the last gasp by the championship leader. Ricky 03 made a mess of his final lap in Q3, so we'll go from 10th position. Datkovitz is the best average qualifier in Season 11 this season, but this is his worst qualifying since round number 1 in Baku. Two former teammates, Phil, row number 4. Tim Mardik down in 8th with his main championship rival on the front row. Needs to have a very good start. And Safso looking cool as ever there in the green machine. Chappers continues to consistently perform well in qualifying. And he's got a resurgent Cream 70 starting alongside him in P5. And the two drivers in front of them have to make mincemeat of the drivers on the front row. Lolanova looked like the favourite for pole, but didn't quite have the legs at the end of Q2. And it's Meraki starting from P3, chasing that championship for the second time. And then on the front row, Razin Chai starting from second, and it is Grid Joke. 1 appearance so far in the Creator Series this season, 1 pole position to his name. Well. The grid is almost set. We can see the pit lane of this stunning Suzuka circuit. Expect fireworks, everybody, in the land of the rising sun. This should be very, very good. Championship protagonists littered all over the grid, from 3rd to 8th back to 15th. A lot of them have got a lot of work to do to get themselves back into contention. But at Suzuka, it might be a track that's hard to overtake, but you can certainly expect the unexpected, can't you, John?
Yeah, looking at the tyre selections then here, we've got an interesting start on the grid because Grid Jokes is starting on the medium tyres, but everybody behind him, well, at least the very fast runners, apart from Karim, I must say, starting on the soft compound tyres. So he's going to have a really tough time getting that excellent start to defend into turn 1. Starting on the outside as well. Oh, and I think he's also been reset to the grid, which is not ideal because the temperatures of the tyres are not good. It's not gone well for Grid Jokes, has it?
No, he's going to have 3 sharks swarming right behind him on those red struck soft compound tyres. Remember, with that lobby reset, everybody gets all of their tyres returned to their arsenal. So all of the tyres that you'll see will not be scrub set. So Razin, Meraki, Lolanova on brand new soft compound tyres, and they're going to be looking to light up not just the starting blocks, but the first lap. And we can see there the Season 4 champion. We saw him smiling away in the bottom right-hand corner. Huge opportunity for him. Got back on the podium last week in Brazil for the first time in 4 races after a bit of a sticky patch as he found himself in Hasses and in Sauber cars that he wasn't getting along with, but has found his mojo once again. The qualifying P3 and be right in the thick of it with his 2 main rivals down the order. Tim Mardik starting from 8th, Alex Gillen starting 15th on the hard compound tyres, trying to repeat the trick we saw from Mexico a few weeks ago, where he started 16th on the hard tyres and worked his way through to win the race on the alternate strategy. Kareem 17, nice to see him back at the sharp end. It's been 3 weeks now since Kareem has been, well, really back where he belongs. Had a strong run out in Qatar, but ultimately fell on the wrong side of misfortune. First in the sprint race and second in the main in Brazil 7 days ago, and now qualifying P5 and very much setting himself up for a strong Japanese Grand Prix.
Hang on a minute, Alex is doing the F1 movie tactic of just waiting for everybody else to do their lap and then warming up the tyres here. I see, Alex, I know what's up. But that's a bold strategy, seeing as a lot of people have been reset to grid, so he might actually have a tyre temperature advantage going into the first couple of turns, which could prove decisive to get at least a little just boost in terms of positions. But it's all about carving through the pack, because on the hard tyres you might have a tiny bit of advantage. We're about to find out, aren't we?
100% about cutting through the pack, but at the first glance the drivers are going to be thinking about where to hit the loud pedal and then where to let go of it on the run down into turn number 1. It can get a little bit sketchy, and with Gridjoke's first ever pole position starting from the front, Razinchai alongside him. We are racing for the Japanese Grand Prix. Mercedes versus Haas, but the soft tyre runner of Razinchai flying away off the grid, and Gridjokes is tumbling, falling through the pack already. Through goes Maki, through goes Lolinova, and the Mercedes is bundled off the track as Cream 17 helps himself, lapping that one up on a silver platter, and now through goes TM Mark as well, ending his race drought 7 days ago and adding even more misery to Gridjokes, the pole sitter, down in P6. And we haven't even finished the first sector of this 53-lap race. Good start for Alex Gillen, a couple of places made up into 13th for the Kick Sauber. For Razinchai, that was absolutely picture book perfect, as his main rival didn't get off the starting blocks.
I think Gridjokes had a setting one there. The battery was recharging into turn 1, so I don't think any deployment was happening there, and that's led to a loss of 5 places. That is terrible news, as Matt 212 trying to go round the outside of Tukey as the two Ferraris nearly get tangled up. Alex making a move right now with challenging Ricky for position. Can he get it round the outside? No, not quite. And the tyres just being, again, that reset to grid, the tyre temperatures playing havoc for Gridjokes there. I think he just realised the futility of trying to defend that position and just got swarmed in any case. But look at the gap. Razin outside of DRS range from Meraki. So Razin taking a storm to this first lap right now. Everybody is just wanting to remain in that gap, as realistically after turn 1, at least the front of the field has remained in the positions, as we can see Tim Marduk getting a huge run there with Gridjokes dropping 5 spots.
Yeah, great start from Ben, up from 8th into 5th, and that is what he needed with Alex Gillen down the order, and Meraki currently holding 2nd. Here comes the Scarlet Ferrari of Chappers, and they're looking to double team the Aston Martin of Satso, grappling for grip on the hard tyres. Through goes the first of them, Tukey dangling the nose of that red and white car down the inside into turn number 2, but eventually the white flag is the one that's raised by the 2nd Ferrari, and holding station in position number 10 ahead of Matt 212, Ricky 03 and Alex Gillen, who's made up a couple of spots. But look at this, Matt 212 trying to make most of those soft tyres in the early stages. Big wobble there for Tukey on the run up towards Dunlop corner now, under huge pressure, under the microscope from the Mercedes and from the Alpine as well. Surely we're not going to try it around the outside of Degner 1. That would be unwise, I would suggest, from Matt 212, but it's Tukey Tony Hawking it over the curb, taking a trip into the gravel, and all of that hard work to hold firm in 10th position, now thrown into the bin as he tumbles to the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of wing damage there as well. We had also a spin from Lens the Goat. No wing damage there for Tukey. Got away with that. Very, very lucky. But yeah, in the first sector, Lens the Goat was possibly spun around or had at least some form of contact to go off the roads there. So changing to the to the inside, and is forced Matty onto the curb. That is a great bit of driving there, just strategic to just force the issue. And that means you're up to P14 behind his teammate Infratic, who is trying to chase down Alex Gillen. And that is one of the biggest stories here, is that the hard tyres have not been too bad at the start of the race. I survived. Yes, that is, we've seen quite a few incidents there, including Lewis Hamilton. I think back in 2010 that had a huge... Oh, hang on a minute. Meraki getting challenged for P2. Lolinova thought about it round the outside, just didn't have the overspeed. Oh, the tag of the tyre. Still defending into turn 3, turn 4 shuts the door. Lolinova getting very aggressive, deciding that he thinks he has more pace than Meraki at the moment. He might be struggling in these first 2 sectors. But look at that as well. Razin not getting away like we predicted.
100%. And the defensive shape thrown not once but twice by the championship leader, desperately clinging on to 2nd place and trying to cling onto the coattails of Razinchai in front as that gap continues to hover around 9/10 to a second. Lolinova with a poor run through the 2nd Degner, potentially leaving himself vulnerable to a Kareem 17 dive down into the hairpin. But the Alpine not quite close enough to make any real impression on that occasion, and we're seeing the struggles and the trials and tribulations of Gridjoke continue. Nearly now is a 2.5 seconds off the back of Tiamat Marduk, and with Dak Gavin sternly examining the rear geometry of that Mercedes.
Meraki struggling with understeer here. You can see it mid-apex, especially into the hairpin. He just couldn't get any rotation in whatsoever. And that guy Vince looking to get the recovery drive. Again, we were mentioning him after qualifying. This is where he needs to get the confidence back. He needs to make the moves, get the job done, and just maybe get in clean air to rebuild the confidence. As we said, the pace is there. The sector times were there. The braking is most definitely there as he closes up to Gridjokes. That was a super late braking right there. And he will have the utmost opportunity with the DRS now wide open to get the move done on Gridjokes. Gridjokes is deploying the battery. You can see it. The straight line speed is good, but not good enough for the DRS advantage. And that's a 2 car length advantage. He takes an easy overtake there. And Max 2-1-2 moving up the order. Safso suffering on those hard tyres. He's been the best of the starters on the hard tyres, although Alex has made up positions where Safso has dropped down the order. But still, a good position to be in, to be honest. If Safso can get pulled along by the soft compound runners or even the medium compound runners, then he could be in a good position later on in the race.
Yeah, really interesting because the soft tyres do look very, very strong at this stage, and 5 of the top 6 currently running on the red striped rubber, with the exception being Cream 17. He's doing a very, very good job to keep himself in contention on those mediums that do look second best for the soft tyres at this stage of the race. Of course, we will see the transition in act in just a few laps' time, where Cream will just start fancying his chances, maybe thinking about picking up a couple of spots and just putting a move on Lolanoba, Meraki and Razin Shai and making their lives harder than they would want. Luckily for Grid Jokes, he has managed to stem the flow and is nearly 3 seconds clear of the lead Ferrari of Chappers, who's got Matt 2-2, who's charging through the field at the moment. Started 12th on the soft tyres, but now holding 9th place with Matt 2-2, had his best Creator Series finish last week when he took 6th in Interlagos, driving the Papaya McLaren car. It's a different Mercedes engine car this week. Mercedes works car, but he's hoping to use to good effect as well. 7/10 the margin between Razin and Meraki. The Saudi did get pretty close on the previous lap down into turn number 1 and does have a decent lick of straight line speed, but already you can see the drivers trying to get out of the slipstream and in turn the turbulent air to keep the tyres and crucially the engine temperatures as low as they possibly can.
Yeah, a lot of the gaps are hovering around 7/10 of a second. That's about as close as you can get without draining the battery. And that does mean that quite a few drivers are in danger of dropping outside of DRS. We saw Alex Gillen just a lap ago nearly losing DRS, but now he's firmly back in the slipstream of Ricky. Same for Safso. He's hovering around that 9/10 of a second gap, which is just putting you under so much pressure. Oh, Meraki, the huge slide, nearly doing what Tuki did and getting a Tony Hawk's moment over the curb, but he gets away with it and still remains in that P2 lockup, I think, for Razin that we saw just there. So the tyres may be getting a little bit uncomfortable in terms of temperature, and most importantly for him in P4, I mean, he's in the best position at the moment. He could just sit tight and wait for these soft compound tyres to go off and put himself in the best position. Must be said for that guy Vince, although he's got past Grid Jokes, he needs to get the hammer down and really catch up to Tiamat Marduk, because this front train might end up pulling away in the early stages of the race while these soft tyres are still relatively good. But as we can see, Razin probably saving battery as well, just waiting for the counter-attack from everybody behind him. Bad corner though from Meraki. That might put him under pressure into turn 1, but Razin hasn't got the traction either.
Yeah, he could be under pressure here for the first time in the race, Razin, as the gap continues to decrease at the start of lap number 6. But I don't think the championship leader is thinking about the move into turn number 1. We get a firm arch, although he almost takes a nibble out of the rear end of that Haas car through turn 2. Cream 17 has been able to sit so close, glued to the rear end of the Italian stallion of Lolanova in the battle for 3rd and 4th. That tells me he's definitely got a little bit more pace and, importantly, confidence in his back pocket. So when we do see the full transition from the softs to the mediums as the best race tyre, Cream's going to be very, very racing, desperate, you would say, to try and get past these cars, to give himself a nice buffer as he tries to make the most of what will become the best compound. As Lolanova there, not a particularly good run through Degna 2, but again, I don't think Kareem is close enough to make a lunge down to the hairpin, and he does not. Picture in picture, you can see in the bottom right there, that is Infratic, who's made a decent start from 16th up to 13th, but he's got Alex Gill in the car in front of him, and then it's Safso just grappling for grip on the hard compound tyres, and for Fabio, he's found himself behind 2 drivers, but if you're going to make an overtake, it's going to have to be a good one.
Yeah, one driver that's in trouble is Infratic's teammate Joritz, who is 1.2 seconds down at the moment, so no DRS range, still on the soft tyres as well, so really struggling for pace out there for the moment. So we'll see Meraki make a move here, and then battery flashing would indicate that he wouldn't go for it, but in the background there you can see that Tiamat Marduk is getting challenged by that guy Vince. Tiamat Marduk has dropped off in pace a little bit here and has possibly made a mistake, maybe through Spoon, and that has divided this grid at the front into 2 separate trains now, as we see that is a challenge for the lead, and that is Meraki going all the way around the outside, the battery flashing, and I think Razin deployed battery just to keep it side by side. It will be enough to just barely keep the front wing alongside, to force Meraki to leave the space, to leave the gap. They're fighting it still. No driver wants to give up. They are leaving millimeters to spare. What masterful driving. Lonanoba gets the popcorn out, but Razin is still challenging it up the inside, and that means that Karim nearly challenged for P3 as well. Everybody focusing on other drivers and leaving the gaps open, and wow, what a battle we have just seen. Meraki and Razin, round of applause for that fighting. Super clean, super respectful, and oh so exciting to watch.
It looks all over the place here though, Raz, and maybe he's cooked those rear tyres because that's the third or fourth time he's really struggled to get the power down and massively under the microscope. Now is incredible racing, very respectful as well between Razin and Jake in the first sector. Eventually Razin sending it down the inside into Degner 1, forcing Meraki's hand and saying, you're going to have to get out of this one, mate. And Meraki very much played ball, and at the same time as Kareem challenging around the outside into Degner 1 as well, but he didn't fancy that one. And this has spared the blushes very much of Tim McMahon, bringing it back into fray. Lonanoba senses an opportunity. He smells blood. It's the inside to the outside of the Casio triangle, and he's pocket pinched the championship lead. And Meraki bumped down into second place out of absolutely nowhere. Now could be at the mercy of Kareem 70 as well. Those medium tyres starting to sing, but this the Italian stallion galloping around the outside into turn number 1. Lonanoba taking his opportunity as it presented itself to him, and he now leads the Japanese Grand Prix. Kareem 70 making a blunder into turn number 1, had the opportunity to relegate Jake down a further spot, but fell off the road and has to stay in P4 ahead of Tim McMahon, Datgovitz and Gridjokes back into what is now a 7-car lead DRS train.
I'll tell you what, yeah, that's helped out Tim McMurdoch, hasn't it? Ben has really been given a wild card there to bring himself back within DRS range. Will say, Karim probably just got caught up in being in a little bit of spectator mode of the front three there. He had multiple opportunities but couldn't make it stick. I must say for Razin Meraki, probably overheating the tyres there with the battle, and that just left them vulnerable to an attack, and Lonanoba just seized that opportunity and went with it, and it has worked a treat for the moment, as you can see when we've got the tyres up there. So the hard compound run is actually struggling a little bit more and not making up position. Safso has dropped another position down to P10, but Alex is up to P11, so overtaking Ricky in the past couple of laps there. So Alex probably in a good position at the moment, but I'm sure he will have wanted to make up a few positions, as he's also outside of DRS for the moment. So quite a few people sizing up attacks here again into the last couple of turns, and that was nearly a collision between Meraki and Razin. Once again, Razin not really there on the apex speed, and that can leave them once again vulnerable into turn 1.
The back of that Haas looks incredibly loose. Meraki, is he close enough to challenge down into turn number 1? The answer is no. Kareem 70 definitely feeling like he's getting held up, getting hobbled, as those medium tyres definitely the primary compound at this stage of the stint, as we start lap number 9, looking stronger and stronger. We're hearing the Tim McMahon, the reason he lost the time in the middle sector a couple of laps ago was because he was paused letting his girlfriend back in, and that just shows you how slow the paused AI is on this game and why you want to avoid it as much as you possibly can. But he has managed to get himself back into contention courtesy of that epic battle we saw firstly between Razin and Meraki, and then between Razin and Lonanoba, that has got our famous Italian, our lead Italian in the championship, into the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix, and just trying to extend his legs a little bit, stretch his legs at the front of the pack. 3/4 of a second the gap between himself and the season 4 champion. 4 champions filling the top 5 spaces. This is Creator Series, everybody. One of the other champions, Alex Gillen, like you said, just struggling to make progress at this stage on the hard compound tyres, but playing the long game, as we saw in Mexico 3 weeks ago. The race will come to Alex Gillen, you would imagine, if we can extract the pace that we know he's got in his locker.
Yeah, for sure. It's all caution sector 2. That's all. The McLarens are having a disaster class. Lenz is spun around. I think that's in Degner 2, probably on the curb once again. So yeah, the McLarens with Chesnoy behind him as well. They've done an extra pit stop, probably to just repair some damage and to get fresh tyres on in anticipation of safety car, but it's not going their way today. It's Karim once again getting superior traction off of the last turn, and I can leave Meraki vulnerable. No battery being deployed though, so everybody line astern for the moment. Gridjokes not much to lose here, to be honest, attacking that guy Vince. The pace hasn't been there in the opening bit of the race, but again, as long as you're in this front pack, you're in contention. You have not really too much to worry about this stage of the race. It's for everybody else to attack, and here we can see Concept finally. The hard compound tyres seeming to be just alive at this point compared to the soft tyres. and Joris is really under pressure at the moment. But yeah, an overtake through the first sector, nigh on impossible unless you're on like alongside into turn 1, as we saw with Meraki and Razin. So yeah, it's just going to have to be patient, and that's the thing, is you can get caught out strategy-wise here if you take too long to overtake drivers.
Fastest man on track at the moment, the reigning champion, Alex Gillen, faster than the leaders comfortably on the previous lap as those hard tyres continue to get closer to the optimal working window. The problem is he's 8 seconds off the lead. Now, that's not too much at this stage, less than the second lap that he's been leaking in the first 10 of this Japanese Grand Prix, but he's going to have to make up that time later on as Concept finally manages to muscle his way past the Williams of Jorik van Gekken. Doesn't even need the braking zone of the Spoon Curve, albeit this battle is just for the lowly 16th and 17th places, with the two McLarens having an absolute papaya mess in 19th and 20th. Feels like Baku, feels like the Kota sprint all over again for the Woking outfit. Now Meraki closer to Razin coming out of the Casio triangle, but that Haas looks to have fairly decent straight line speed and can just keep the championship leader very much at arm's length on the run down into turn number 1. Two different lines there as well. Interesting to see through turns 1 and 2. The other Sauber on the move. Alex Gillen getting ahead of Safso. Season 1 champion versus Season 2 champion. And the Sauber, I think, is just going to put one over on the green machine of the Aston Martin car. And that is Safso bumped down into P11 after starting from 7th as he continues to grapple for grip and a little bit of pace on his set of hard tyres.
Yeah, well, for Safso, this can be a blessing in disguise, because he can use Alex to sort of bring him along pace-wise and maybe close up to the drivers in front. I think Alex just has a little bit more pace at this stage of the race and could easily revert around. Razin using lower wings, apparently, according to Meraki. It would make sense. We have seen quite a few times where Razin has been struggling for apex speed, but you know, there's an easy way of saying, well, it's the only way you can get overtakes done, to have lower wings. So the strategic versus the tactical mind right there working. We have to, it remains to be seen which strategy will be the best. But I will say also that Razin looks a little bit complacent at the moment into turn 1. There is an opportunity for someone to throw the car up the inside because he takes a wider line, and he might be very, very vulnerable. In fact, talking about that, Karim got great traction there. This might be the best opportunity yet to get up into that P3.
Needs to make moves here, Karim, if he's going to make the most of those medium compound tyres, because while everybody else is getting the rubbish tyre out of the way in the first stint, Karim using up what we imagine is going to be a stronger compound as Chappers getting ahead of Matt 212. Been a really strong first stint for the second Mercedes of Matt, but I think those soft tyres just starting to wane and air ever so slightly, and the Ferrari back up into 8th position after starting from P6. Difficult first lap for Chappers, similar to what we saw from Grid Joke, but both of them managed to arrest the slide and now running in 7th and 8th positions respectively, with Alex Gillen just holding down P10 at the moment. A further second and a half back. Tim and Malik saying what we're all thinking, really, just a little bit stuck. Karim can't get close enough coming out of the Casio triangle. Can't work one over on Meraki to get up into 3rd place. You feel like once one overtake's going to be made, that is where we're going to see the dominoes start to fall. Either with drivers starting into the pit to get a fresh set of boots on, or we're going to start to see somebody maybe just start to fall away.
Yeah, well, when you make an overtake, you sort of create like a traffic jam. That is Joris off in Degner 2. Once again, I think the curb might have played an issue there, but that is so disappointing because he was still up with him, frantic and fighting for position. Those soft tyres may be at the end of their life right now, and that might have played some part in it, at least with the understeer. As we can see, Karim still attacking. Meraki has dropped off here and is in danger of losing DRS this lap. So this is crunch time for Meraki. Will we see a pit stop? I dare say we will probably see one if the DRS is lost, but for the moment it's okay. Karim still will have to probably give it another lap. Yeah, Meraki draining the battery just to make sure he gets back in. And we do have a pit stop. It's that guy, Vince.
Vince the first to bite the bullet and get rid of those soft compound tyres. You could see there, Karim, the frustration on his face, just couldn't get the grip and the traction that he desired out of the Casio triangle, allowing Meraki to be comfortable on the run down into turn number 1. The straight line speed figures as well. The Sauber is quicker than the Alpine in a straight line, which is also going to be to the detriment of the Season 5 champion. But you can see he's got so much more grip, courtesy of how closely he can follow, not just through the S's, but through the middle sector as well. And is Jake still very much under the cosh here grappling to stay within 1 second of the duo in front. Tim Malik has been quiet ever since he's got back into this, happy just to sit and watch and wait and see what happens in front of him. With Gridjokes now in 6th place on the medium tyres, maybe he'll start to make a couple of moves in the coming few laps.
Patience is the name of the game right now, because he's on the better tyres. Let's make it very short like that. But if you lose a front wing or an end plate or whatever, you mitigate that advantage instantly. So that guy Vince, difficult stint again, probably not very happy with the way things have gone. A bit like in qualifying, but now with a different set of tyres and indeed some clean air, perhaps this is the chance to at least get a better position on the road. I'll have to wait and see. Karim still, I don't think close enough. No, just not managing to get that apex rotation through the Casio triangle. And Meraki's been very strong toward the end section of the lap, and that has just meant that he's been able to maintain position where perhaps he should have already been overtaken by Karim on those better tyres. Timo Marduk, I think, is just sat here, just conserving tyres, probably aiming to go an extra lap than the cars in front, realising that an undercut will only put him at a disadvantage this stage in the race for later on, effectively. As Matt's still stuck behind Chappers, who's lost 3 seconds now to that front train, and that is a gap that is sizable now, with Alex as well looking right there in the picture to get onto the back of these two and hopefully get an overtake as well.
And the undercut is a really interesting point of discussion, because nobody's responded to the punch pulled by Dakar Vince on the previous lap. And he's in a lovely load of clean air, with 7 seconds behind Super Legal Bega when he came out of the pits, and that's now dropped down to 5.5 seconds. And he can really work away now at the gap. Remember, Vince was still very much in this lead DRS train. Yes, he was towards the back of it, but he can make 2 or 3 seconds at least up with this undercut. He is going to have the track position over the guys that he was racing. The trade-off, of course, is that he is going to be on worse tyres. Now to bring into pits earlier again for the final stint. Is this the opportunity that Kareem 17 has been smelling and waiting for? Meraki doesn't look to defend the inside, but Kareem 17 on the flip side of it doesn't fancy it down the inside into the Casio triangle. We saw numerous times in qualifying, Kareem was always deep into the first part of the Casio triangle, putting him off kilter and meaning that his run through the second part was always compromised. And I think we're just seeing that again. 2.5 tenths of a second the gap. Does he think about it into turn 1, gaining all the time? Can he make the move into 2? Just a little bit wobbly the front of that Alpine car, as he was desperately looking for the smallest space that he could fit an Alpine Formula 1 car alongside the Sauber, but the gap did not present itself, and it is still 4th place.
Oh, that was seat of your pants stuff, as they say. Edge of your seat, in another language that you could use. But I must say, looking at the sector times, it is true. Kareem losing 1/10 of a second, and not losing 1/10 of a second into Degner, that's for sure. I thought we might see a small overtake there, but no, it's not happening for the moment. Maybe a chance into the hairpin. He is close enough, but Razin is close enough to Lolanoba to put some pressure on as well. Meraki there, still P3, so no overtake attempted, but you can see how close Kareem is in terms of traction. But yeah, that third sector for Kareem is just not happening through the Casio triangle. He's losing on average 1/10 to 2/10, and that is the gap that you need to get alongside into turn 1. As very wide is Tiamat Marduk trying to get, I think, the best run off of Spoon, but that nearly had Gridjokes into the diffuser and spun around there. So a lot of drivers, I think, just getting a little bit relaxed in the position that they're in. One person not getting relaxed right now is Karim. He's up the inside. This will be an overtake. Very nicely done using the battery. I think Meraki decided the futility of that to try and drain the battery. It was on the cards right there. Tiamat Marduk having a huge snap of oversteer as well. This will be very vulnerable to Gridjokes. The battery draining, and there's nothing left in the tank. Gridjokes has nowhere to go, though.
Can't quite get close enough. We know the slipstream's not the strongest on the F125 game, as Alex Gillen making up places, the reigning champion, getting ahead of the Ferrari of Chappers into position number 8 now, as Enfratic getting shot of his soft compound tyres. Got to keep it ahead of the Ferrari through the S's of the first sector. Gillen was just a little bit wide there, and Chappers sensing maybe the smallest of opportunities to get back ahead of the Sauber. That did not come to fruition, but for Kareem 70, we feel like that's maybe 10 laps too late, considering how long he's been staring at the back of the car. The drive that's been holding 3rd position finally can now try and make an impression on Razin Chai and Lolanoba, but we feel maybe it's just a little bit too late for him to get the best out of those medium tyres.
Yeah, at this stage of the race, any advantage is a huge factor here. And just looking at the times at the moment, that guy Vince has reached crunch time as well, as he's got his first driver to overtake on track, and that is Super Noodle Bagel in just, well, hopefully this lap for that guy Vince, because well, Super Noodle Bagel is on very old tyres now at this point, so he'll be losing a lot of time compared to the pace of that guy Vince. So it's oh so crucial to just get past immediately and keep using those tyres, because again, the offset in strategy now is quite consequential to this lead pack that still hasn't pitted. That guy Vince was at the back of this pack, and into the pits we have Karim and no, that's Meraki and Razin. Sorry.
It's just Razin, I believe, just the Haas of Razin, who we saw, it looked like he'd cooked the rear soft tyres maybe 10 laps ago. Now fancying get out of it and doesn't want to waste any time battling Karim 17. But that guy Vince in clean air has been about 2 seconds a lap faster than that leading group of 6 cars. Alex Gillen's up into 6th place now and only 4.5 seconds off the back of the leading quintet. And that's going to be interesting as this race continues to develop. But Datka Vince is going to be ahead of Raz and Chai. The question is, what is the gap? It's not too sizable. It's about 2 seconds separating the RB and the Haas car, but crucially there is a Red Bull racing car in between them that Raz is going to have to follow through this first sector. Yeah,
Datka Vince hasn't worked out for him really. The gap would probably want to be around 5 seconds at this point. But I think what I saw was Tiamat Marduk having a huge snap of oversteer out of the last turn, and it looks like he was following Razin into the pits. So yeah, luckily for Tiamat Marduk, he's still out there, but he's lost DRS though this lap, potentially. So that is, oh, here we go, Razin looking to get the overtake done. This is what you have to do. You have to drain the battery, you have to go for it, and that is a crucial overtake if Razin wants to use the best of these tyres. He will probably close up to that guy Vince. The pace has looked decidedly in the favour of Razin at the moment between the two, and that might be an overtake for Grid Jokes in the planning, as Tiamat Marduk has indeed lost the DRS. Will we see a pit stop? No, Tiamat Marduk stays out, but yeah, he's not even draining the battery.
Yeah, you can see there's not a lot of rear grip for that Haas car, but the race leader reacting to Raz and Chai there, and the drivers that were 1 and 2 are now going to throw themselves back into the pack. Grid Jokes does get ahead of Tiamat Marduk on the medium tyres, up into 3rd as Green 17 takes over the net race lead. Chappers and Mac also fancying their chances of getting on a fresh set of boots. Datka Vince fastest lap of the race, very good first sector for himself. Where is Lolanoba going to be spat out of the pits? It's right into the path of the Season 5 champion. The Haas charging around the outside of turn number 1 and just putting the Italian stallion in his back pocket. And that undercut has given Raz and Chai the track position over the RB car, with Datka Vince a further 2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, just want to point out, Datka Vince hadn't been setting fastest laps of the race up until that point, so I'm not exactly sure what's gone on there. Maybe the tyres are just not suiting him or making a few mistakes, but indeed, if the pace now sort of ramps up, this could be a good strategy to be on. The tyres are a bit older than the people behind now, with Razin and Lolanoba just having pitted, but there's still A cards to be played here. Grid Jokes finally using those medium tyres to great effect, but Meraki has dropped 2 seconds off of the back of Karim, who is on the medium tyres. So this is a gap that now Grid Jokes will have to close by himself. Will we see Meraki into the pits? I imagine so. And you can see Alex Gillen as well, only 2 seconds off of the back of Tiamat Marduk as well. So there's a lot to be played. Meraki stays out. Meraki carries on 17-lap-old tyres, and so does Tiamat Marduk.
Gillen setting personal bests, really bringing himself back into play here as Grid Jokes pushes the championship leader down into position number 3. Green 17 also was only 2/10 slower than Alex Gillen on the previous lap. In fact, identical lap times for Cream 17 and Alex Gillen on the previous lap, but they were comfortably over a second quicker than Meraki and then Tiamat Marduk and Raz and Chai. Well, he was even faster there, fastest lap of the race for him, but this is Lolanoba battling away into turn 1. Is there the space for the Haas up the inside into 2? I think Lolly backs out of that, and a bit of a jink over from the Season 5 champion as well, maybe just to make his intentions clear. Looked a little bit scrappy there, but all's well that ends well, and Raz and Chai does keep track position ahead of Lolanoba, with that gap to Datka Vince still hovering around 1.5 seconds as the lead RB car starting to catch his next bit of traffic, the Aston Martin of Concept 7. Grid Jokes have taken a couple of tenths out of Cream 17's lead, but those two drivers out in front marching very, very quickly away from Meraki and Tiamat Marduk.
Just like in qualifying, Lolanoba has an electric last sector. That is 3/10 clear of everybody right now in terms of pace. So Lolanoba have that sort of potential of knowing that they can just close in at the end of the lap to put themselves in a good position to overtake, and that is a huge advantage to have. And yeah, Razin is quite happy still defending the position, but you know, he's got to be a little bit worried seeing how, I mean, look at the gap. There is no gap really. Lolanoba just has everything in his advantage right now, including the tires. Look how late they can brake. It's ridiculous, and that just puts them at a position to attack, although Razin does get a good exit this time, so probably not too vulnerable, although Razin doesn't have the DRS, does he? Tuki in the pits, so that's another car they won't have to overtake. Razin to the Lolanoba to the inside, and that's a clean overtake. Razin having nothing to respond, and even a late braking into the corner and nearly losing the car.
Nearly threw it into the wall there, which would not have been ideal at all. Lolly looks like he's running very low wings, because that must explain the pace that he's got. That run out of spoon down to the braking zone of the Casio Triangle, he is absolutely rapid. At the moment, this is Alex Gillen update. He's only a second off the back of Tim Marlick. If you consider that the three main championship protagonists, one was 3rd, one was 8th, one was 15th on the grid. They're now running line astern in 3rd, 4th and 5th, and Alex Gillen really coming to the forefront here as those hard tyres working very, very nicely for him. I think he knows that he's getting himself into a very strong position. Only 5 seconds off Cream 70 at this stage, Alex Gillen.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, Alex has really played the patient game, has really just used the tyres to the best of his ability, and I think maybe after the qualifying there was just a mental reset there, saying, well, we got not much to lose, we got to go for it to remain in championship contention. And so starting on those hard tyres, while it's a bit risky, if there's no safety car, it does actually pay dividends as well, because now there is a little bit of strategic leverage that you can use, as Matt gets a 10-second penalty into the pits. He was doing a good job in the midfield there, but that is going to be a nail in the strategy there, as he will not serve the penalty right now. And doing some overtakes here, Concept has got absolutely mugged by that guy Vince and Lolanoba, I think, in the same turn there. So Lolanoba making a huge move and huge pace, as he's already caught that guy Vince. And Razin has not been able to catch Concept in the same corner, and that means he's going to have to follow probably until sector 3.
Really clinical there from Lolly. It was a 50-50 send down the inside, but he made sure he got it 100% right to follow in the footsteps of his teammate and just apply the pressure once again to Razin Chaik, who's going to stick with these two RB cars. Has to be clinical, does the Haas car, and does. You're seeing a little bit of battery, and into the hairpin, does get ahead of the Aston Martin of Concept 7, who is yet to stop still in the first 21 laps of this Japanese Grand Prix. And that means he could just try and stay with those two RB cars in front. But Lolanoba looks absolutely rapido at this stage of the race, flying on his brand new set of medium tyres. Fastest lap of the race, and by some distance as well, 6/10 quicker than anybody else has managed. We've got to watch out for our Italian stallion, because he's absolutely flying, as is Alex Gillen, fancying it around the outside into the Casio Triangle. Tim Marlick late into the first part of it. Compromised run through the second part. Isn't going to dive into the pits as himself and Meraki continue to extend this soft tyre stint. But after starting from P15, Alex Gillen will be delighted to see that Tim Marlick is now behind him.
You have to assume that the soft compound runners that are still out there are going for a one-stop strategy now, and they've done a really good job of just maintaining the tyres, to be fair, as that guy Vince has been overtaken by Lolanoba now. So Lolanoba has the clean air. Razin, crucially, is within DRS, as it looks like Concept has been dropped. Those hard compound tyres, although they're very durable, they just don't have the pace of a fresh set of mediums. But this is a strategic question mark at the moment for all of the drivers. Some people already probably committing to a 2-stop, but for the front drivers at the moment, the possibilities are all out there, and still no possibility of a safety car, not really any incidents happening on track. So I think a few drivers, tandem drifting there by that guy Vince and Razin. Razin nearly lost it completely into the hairpin, but they've managed to at least keep it all on track. But you'd love to see everybody pushing, at least creating a show out there, that's for sure.
But look at that, they're about to get dropped by Lolinoba, who is still charging and charging at some rate of knots. And Dak Gavins, this is going to be code red here if he drops out of the 1 second window, because he's definitely going to fall behind Razin Chai if that happens, having to burn a little bit of battery just to stay in touch with his teammate in front, who looks to be in a different stratosphere pace-wise. Remember, Dak Gavins did go for the undercut, he got himself this track position. The trade-off is he's on 6-lap older tyres as Meraki bites the bullet and dives into the pits. The championship leader getting off those soft compound tyres. Decent stint for the Sauber car as Lolinoba punches in another purple lap time. Dak Gavins, I think, has just about still got the DRS, although it's touch and go. Razin's going to fly past. I don't think he did have the DRS there, Vince. And now he's going to go wide through turn 1. So just grappling for grip at this stage is the second RB of Vince. And Razin Chai's got to get his toe down here to keep tabs on Lolinoba in front. Another driver going nicely is our new race leader of Grid Jokes. Is about half a second a lap quicker than Cream 17, and now ahead of the Alpine as Meraki renews his spoils on the racetrack in position number 12. Ben has just been overtaken by Sapso as well into the hairpin.
Yeah, a lot of moves happening, and those tyres, those soft compound tyres, are really dropping off a cliff right now in terms of pace. Safto has done a good job on those hard compound tyres as well to follow Alex Gunn. We have a yellow, it's a McLaren off. I think that's Chesnoid, or is it Lenz? I think it might be Lenz that has gone off through Spoon. Just in front of the leaders, actually. You'll see him in a minute as the leaders will catch him. So the McLaren's not having a good day, that's for sure. Papaya will not be a colour on the step of the podium today, that's for sure. But Gridjoke's still doing a good job out there. And yeah, I think just Karim is in an awkward position right now because he hasn't used the tyres, as he said earlier, and he's kind of stuck really just trying to get the best out of a compromised scenario in terms of the strategy. And I think, you know, he's got a lot of work to do, let's put it that way. Oh, Karim to the inside, yeah, just going for the DRS overtake. Didn't expect that one, to be fair.
Well, what I would say is Grid Jokes is still quicker than Alex Gillen at this stage of the race. It's touch and go as Tim McMardock finally putting those soft compound tyres to rest. He's going to strap on what I believe will be the medium tyres. That is what Meraki bolted on, currently running in 12th. It is the yellow stripe medium tyres for the former two-time Creator Series champion, going for back-to-back race wins. Looks like it is going to be a little bit of a tall order. Tim McMardock, that has not worked out at all. Not only is he behind Meraki, but there's 3 other cars in between himself and his main championship rival. Tuki in the Ferrari, Matt 2-on-2 with a 10-second penalty in the Mercedes, and Ricciardo 3 in the Alpine. That is going to be a tall order for Ben to try and work his way through the traffic and pick them off one by one.
Yeah, not ideal, because with Meraki sort of being a very strong contender in that pack in front of him, doesn't really have the opportunity to close in on that guy Vince, on Razin, on Lolinoba. So these 3 drivers here, Lolinoba, especially Lolinoba and Razin, maybe a bit less that guy Vince because he's been dropped outside of DRS right now, as you can see clearly visually now. Yeah, that really just puts a spanner in the works, and overtakes are going to happen aplenty probably, but you've got only a few laps to do it. You've got the fresh tyres, you've got the confidence, you have to go for it. And there's such a strong probability of losing an end plate or losing a part of your wing that, yeah, let's make sure we don't get stuck here yet. So Tim McMardock forced to take risks, I guess.
Absolutely crucial, needs to work his way through the traffic. Dak Gavins said he didn't have the pace, has been dropped by his teammate and Razin Chai to the tune of 2.2 seconds at this stage. Somebody that we haven't mentioned for a while that has done a really good job of recovering this race is Infratic. 4 of the drivers that have pitted so far ahead of Chappers, ahead by 5 seconds of Meraki, Tim McMardock and Matt 2-on-2 as well. With the strategy, the undercut and some clean air, Fabio's done a great job of getting himself back into the fray after his terrible qualifying, starting 16th.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how he's done that, because he only had 1 lap undercut on Razin. So, yeah, that is impressive. Very, very impressive. And
Razin's off through the first
ideal.
Degner, taking a bit of a bumpy ride there through the gravel and bringing quite a lot of it. You can see the gravel tracks onto the circuit. That was a bit of a Code Brown moment, wasn't it, for the Season 5 champion? First real mistake we've seen from him so far this race, and that definitely would have put his eyes on stalks as he flew off into the gravel there, and is very lucky, A, to keep it out of the wall, and B, to keep it within 1 second of the cars in front.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. I thought that would be an easy Degner 1 for him. I was looking at sector times, to be honest, while that was happening. And that was a Code Brown moment. That could have been very bad. You're quite correct in that. But I think actually he realised what was happening and he didn't want to get on the curb, so he just went into the gravel instead and then just cut back across onto the track. Probably quite smart to do that, to be fair. But it does mean he's lost a bit of time. Although he's still somehow within DRS of Lolanova. So to be fair, it hasn't worked out too bad for him, has it?
Has got some really strong pace. We have to say that as well. Safso, 4th place. Yet to stop so far in this race. Might be bumped down to 5th as Lolly using the battery and the straight line speed he's got in that RB car. And does get up into 4th position. Lolanova, remember, is the net race leader as the McLaren gets out of the way. The gap between Lolly and Gridjo is currently sat at around 7 seconds. Here is Infratic. Pace is decent. Just a shame he started down in P16. We're seeing that from Fabio. He's only 7 seconds off the back of Dakar Vince, 10 seconds off the back of Razin, 10 seconds, sorry, off the back of Razin. That's about what it's been for the whole race, so I would agree with him there. Got some really strong pace, and if there's a late race safety car, could find himself moving through the field very nicely. This is Razin getting balked behind the Aston Martin of Saf, so we've seen this once, we've seen it twice, we're now going to see it thrice coming out of the second Degner, and Razin Chai once again having to be clinical with his overtakes, and clinical is the word he looks up in the dictionary, but crucially 1.3 seconds the gap between himself and Lolanova now.
Yeah, catching Alex Gillen as well as this group. And I think from Infratic, that's an interesting statement to make, really, because I know Infratic sometimes just has a bit of a head loss toward the second half of the race if things haven't been going their way. And saying that to yourself, that, oh, it would have been better if I started in a different position, it's kind of like, it's a mental block, really. You just have to say, okay, fine, but there's half of the race to go. I've made a decent recovery, the pace is there, I can do something with this race. But unless you're in that mindset, and unless you're in that frame of mind to actually keep pushing and move forward, sometimes it can just play against you. No way Lolnova's going to attempt it from this far back, but you could see the temptation from Lolnova. To be fair, looking at his battery, he's got nothing left in the tank. He has to spend at least half a lap recharging that battery. To be fair, Alex's pace is not that bad, to be honest, so at this stage just slotting in behind for maybe half a lap is not too detrimental. Gridjokes and Karim are not lapping faster than Alex. It's about the same pace. They're in very low 33s, just not dipping into the 32s. So yeah, there's about 2 seconds on the cards between Lolanova and the front three. But basically, Lolanova is net lead racer anyway, so all he has to do is maintain position. What it will do, though, is bring Razin back into play, as he is once again within DRS range.
Yeah, and that's a really important point, because the gap got out to 2.2 seconds. And what happened to Razin on the previous lap, where he was balked behind an Aston Martin, dropped himself miles off the back of Lolly, gave Lolly a bit of breathing space. Now, the shoe is very much on the other foot, and Alex Gillen holding back the Italian stallion, and Razin brought back into the same ballpark. I think he'll probably want to get past him as soon as he possibly can. That might be before we get to 130R. What is he going to do? He's going to move over to the inside. Gillen obviously will not fight this, not in the same race one bit. And Lolly does get through. What this is going to do now, though, is it's going to give Alex Gillen some DRS going down the main straight, of course, unless the reigning champion dives into the pits to get rid of those hard compound tyres. But don't look like a particularly good compound, it has to be said, as Cream 17 dives into the pits to get rid of his medium tyres. Interesting to note what tyres he'll bolt on for the second half of this race, but here's the treatment being served out again. This time it's going to be Razin that has to follow Alex Gillen round through the first sector, and Lolly again giving an opportunity to jump off into the distance.
Yeah, I think that was intentional from Lolanova. He saw the opportunity, as we have Tiamat Mardik with the fastest lap of the race. The only person right now in the 130s, so a 30.9. The times are getting faster and faster, and you can see how much that's holding up. Matt 212 and Tiamat Mardik fighting, so that is why the DRS helping with that pace as well, and Tiamat Mardik has made the move stick for the moment. Again, Matt 212 on those hard compound tyres, you can see there with the understeer. It's just a little bit of maybe too hard a compound to be on for this race. But then again, Alex has made it work quite well. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, to be honest. And it does open up the strategy if there is a safety car. So do you want to play it cautious? Do you want to play it aggressive? That is up to the drivers, as they say.
100%. And I said it on the previous app. Those hard tyres, coincidentally, the compound Cream 17 just bolted on, don't look like a great compound. Alex Gillen at no stage in this stint has been faster than Grid Jokes, who of course started on the medium tyre. So that's going to be interesting to see how much progress Cream 7T can make in the second half of this Grand Prix. Grid Jokes still yet to stop, has done half distance on the mediums. He'll be thinking about maybe transitioning to the soft tyres for the second stage of this race, as Alex Gillen getting shot of those hard compound tyres. It should be mediums to the end, but he has held Razin Chai back. He's now 2 seconds again off the back of Lolinova. Matt 2-on-2 trying to stick with Tim at Mardaku. He may have found himself in a sticky spot with the way he came out of the pits, but he has still got very, very strong pace in that Haas car. The only problem is he's having to pick his way through the traffic one by one as Meraki and Cream 17 can shoot off into the distance. There's Alex Gillen, the flash of lime green coming down pit road, but he is going to rejoin behind the Alpine of Ricky 03, and I don't think it's going to be too long until Tim McMurdoch and Alex Gillen find themselves crossing paths once again in this Japanese Grand Prix. Gridjo's your leader, but I think for a bit of a mid-race recap and a potential look ahead to the future of this Japanese Grand Prix, I think we should hand you back over to the wonderful Kieran McGinley to give us a taste of what he's been seeing, not just from the paddock, but also joining us in the commentary box. Kieran.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I've just been really listening into the radio waves. They've been really interesting to hear from drivers' points of view. It's really interesting to have 12, 13, 14 streams up at the same time. It has been a lot of fun regardless. Infratic, actually, he was disappointed where he started, but he's got an encouraging amount of pace underneath him. He's encouraged by that as well, as Kareem just passes Concept there out on track. Kareem was thinking, say, 10, 15 laps ago, this could be a two-stopper. But he did say the medium tyres starting on them was worth the risk. Now he's on the hard tyres. He should be able to get them to the end. He wasn't happy with his tyre wear. That's the reason he's gone back out on hard rather than stayed out on the soft tyres, or at least pitted for some soft tyres. As Safso comes into the pit, Skillen was a bit worried about that potential safety car undercut that Safso would have over him, but that has dissipated. There's a huge battle in the background there. I think that's Kareem Tuki and Tiamat Marder all trying to make their way through. Then was adamant that he had not to get stuck. He was adamant that he wasn't going to get stuck behind in the traffic. And he's up into the top 10 now, and Tuki just up ahead of him. So it's really intriguing to see. And yeah, I was going to say Yorit as well. Good to see him on the grid. He struggled today. Of course, he went into the wall early on. I didn't quite see what happened to him, but I saw he laughed it off anyway. That's just Yorit. That's just what he does. But it's interesting to see these top guys. They're really trying to figure out which is going to be the best strategy. Some questioning others. Some questioning why the medium tyres went as far as they did, because then it really gives them a bit of a halfway house between trying to make the hard tyres work, but are they going to be quick enough, and making the soft tyres work, which will be quick enough, but only for about 6 or 7 laps. So intriguing to see. Gillen is adamant, well, he's saying his strategy is working as well. He's very happy with how his race is going on from his side. He's rejoining us at a medium tyre, so he should be looking to get up some positions later on. Infratic there, still, as I'm watching on with him, I think he's developed into this race. He's grown and grown into this race. He started quite negative. Now he's really getting that positive vibe going. He's up the positions. He's really trying to make this work. I just say that just through speed. He's just picked up a track limits warning, but he's on a set of medium tyres, and he's looking very good indeed. We'll see what he can do towards the end of this race. As you see now, this is how I'm slightly behind, but it's okay. I'm running 13, 14 streams at a time. That's probably why. Kareem there, he was also adamant that he's got to make sure this strategy works. These hard tyres will definitely get him to the end, but he's just got to make sure that offset of any new medium tyres and any new soft tyres towards the end is making sure he counteracts that. Gillen has had to do a lot of overtaking today, a lot of management on the hard tyres, I should say, he started on. They were absolutely stone cold in that race when he went to the grid. The outer, the surface temperature was great. The internal temperature of the tyres was absolutely ice cold. So he had to do a lot of work over the last couple of laps in that first stint to make sure the tyres were up to temperature. Now that he has, he's very happy with his strategy. He definitely says he's chosen the right strategy. But Grid Jokes are leading the way then, and looking to see what he can do towards this stage. Lolinova second place. Good amount of pace from the Italian stallion. Razin was giving him a really good time then. They had great battles through and towards turns 1 and 2. In the end, Razin tried the move, he tried that up and under, but he said Lolinova, he saw that coming the second time and did very well, defended it, and now Lolinova has opened up a 2.3 second gap. That guy Vince, he's also one to watch out for. He doesn't feel confident about his pace in this stage, and he started off with a difficult stint in his own words, but he's currently in 4th place. We'll see what he can do. But that's really it from me up and down the paddock. I'll keep an eye on all the storylines as and when they happen.
Well, thank you very much, Kieran, for that one. I think I share your thoughts there. This could be a very interesting one. The way the strategy battle is going to unfold in the second stanza of this race will be very, very interesting. Concept 7 into the pits for the first time, 30 laps on his hard compound tyres. Grid Jokes continues to soldier on out in front, 31 laps on his set of medium tyres. That'll be good information for the drivers that pitted early off the softs that are trying to get to the end on the yellow stripe compound. Interestingly for Tim McMurdoch, I wonder if he's maybe just missed a trick here, because he's put himself in an identical race pretty much with Alex Gillen and on worse tyres, and he has just got caught up, held up in this traffic of cars that have already pitted. He is being undercut by the 2 Ferraris, by, well, effectively Kareem 17, you could say, by Matt 212. So it's a difficult situation for Ben to be in. I find it unlikely at this stage to say that he is going to find himself going back to back and picking up another victory. The good thing for him in the championship, though, is that Alex Gillen's very much in the same boat after his poor qualifying, and Meraki's not so far up the road that it's going to be debilitating for his championship job.
Yeah, it's an interesting position with all of our leading championship drivers in the midfield. I mean, they're kind of stuck on alternate strategies, I want to say, that, only come to fruition if there is a safety car. But then again, the front of the pack would be helped by that as well. So we haven't seen really any incidents that are likely to create a safety car for the moment, although that does become more likely toward the end of the race when people start going for moves and start becoming a bit desperate to overtake. I will say, for Team McMurdoch, it's very unfortunate they've just been stuck right there, as we do see Infratic under pressure from Meraki. I don't think Infratic will fight this one. Meraki has the much better tyres of the two, and you can see that in terms of apex speed. And it's just nonsensical to attempt to try and defend that, to be honest. You want to run your own race and maybe even use Meraki to just pull you along in terms of pace. But at this stage of the race, it's all still to play for. You've got 20 laps to make a difference. And if you have strong pace, I will say Kareem's pace on the harder compound tyres isn't disastrous. So, if everybody tries to stay out, for example, until the end of the race, then Kareem might have a big advantage toward the end.
Yeah, and you wonder, are the likes of Lodenoba and Rasenchai in particular 12 seconds up the road ahead of Datka Vince, Meraki, Infratic, Kareem 17, and then this train of cars behind the Lee Ferrari of Tuki? Can they go to the end? They've done 15 and 16 laps on their medium tyres. We've got another 20 to go. They'll take heart from the fact that Grid Jokes is going to do 33 laps at least on his set of medium tyres. So it's not unthinkable that Lolly and Razzie could get these tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. The Mercedes is slightly better on its medium tyres, on its tyres in general, than the RB and the Haas, as Grid Jokes, as we say. That does dive into the pits. And for our pole sitter, after a terrible start to the race, it's fair to say, has done a very, very commendable job once he got going in that stint. Was very, very quick on old medium tyres, and that's given himself an opportunity to battle for a podium, maybe even a race win. Dakovic also into the pits for his second and final stop of this race. Will it be soft tyres or will it be mediums? He's got some fresh soft tyres in his back pocket, but I think it's the medium tyres. As Tim McMurdoch continues to pick his way through the traffic, got past one Ferrari on the previous lap, now does the double, getting ahead of Tuki, with Alex Gillen now interloping between the two Starlet cars as well. Gillen definitely going to the end of the race. Ben, you would imagine, is also going to the end. 10 laps on his medium compact tyres, should be able to get those to the checkered flag.
Yeah, for sure. It's touch and go. That guy Vince has fitted anyway, so that sort of leaves that out of the question mark. I was going to say that just after you'd finished your very, very valid points, that's for sure. And for the front two now then, that leaves 36 and 37 laps to do on this set of tyres. When you see Grid Jokes did 33 laps and then they did call it quits, maybe it's a little bit too far. But then again, with the race fuel burning off throughout the race, it means that you don't overheat the tyres as much on your second or third stint. So it is technically possible, but will it be fast enough? Meraki is closing in, and it is still 11 seconds, but if you're closing in at a rate of half a second, for example, then it can really play a blinder on the last few laps. You could see a Kimi Raikkonen versus Fisichella situation happen, in that the overtakes have to be done super late into the race. Karim needs to get past Infratic. This is a crucial overtake, and it looks like, once again, Infratic just running his own race, deciding to not deploy, to not hinder, and to just try and maximise the speed. However, fighting with Tuki and Tiamat Marduk, I think Tiamat Marduk just has been repassed, I think, by Tuki, if I'm correct, and Alex Gillen trying to get past as well. So, yeah, all sorts of stuff happening at the moment in this midfield, and it's not helping either Alex or Ben, to be fair.
Yeah, hold your horses, everybody. Tiamat Marduk and Alex Gillen are fighting over the same piece of tarmac. And remember back on F123, these two had a bit of a tete-a-tete, a bit of a run-in down into turn number 1, fighting for the lead of the race at this very circuit. Car in the gravel, I believe that is the Williams of Infratic making a mistake through the second segment, although it might be Jorik van Geffen who's a lap down, getting out of the way of the cars in front. And yes, it is Jorik van Geffen who's been picking up 10-second penalties for ignoring yellow flags, like they've been going out of fashion, to be honest, in this race. I think he's up to 30 seconds worth of penalties for blue flags in this race, has Jorik. So Tuki back up into 6th, ahead of Ben, who is now under the microscope from his old sparring partner Alex Gillen behind. And look at this, grid jokes on the soft compound tyre. Watch out for him in the back half of this race. He's going to be absolutely rapid. And if Lodanoba and Razin are trying to get to the end, what's the gap? It's about 20 seconds between the RB and the Mercedes. Grid jokes should be right on the gearbox of those leaders come the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's a fast turn of pace, let's put it that way. And with the soft compound tyres, you're leaving, well, other drivers are leaving themselves very vulnerable. And Alex looking to get the move on Ben. Ben was just saying on the team radio there he doesn't think he's got the pace, so he thought, oh, 3 wide, no way. It is going to go 3 wide. Tuki leaves the space. Tuki gets pushed out wide. Tiamat Marduk very aggressive. Alex will just slot into the space that has been left. But wow, what avoiding from Tuki. That could have been disastrous for all 3 drivers. They raced it fairly enough. There wasn't really a way to be totally fair in there. We do have a yellow flag thrown out, and that is indeed a safety car deployed. Something has happened. What has happened?
Who is it? I'm not sure. I'm trying to find out who it is, but I don't know. And that is going to eradicate. Is it Jorik again who's thrown it off the road? Been getting acquainted very much so with the grass and the gravel around the Suzuka circuit, but that throws everything up in the air. That is not good news for grid jokes. I don't think he'll stop under this safety car, considering he's only got 2 laps on the soft compound tyres, but that eradicates his tyre advantage over the leaders that he's been trying to catch. And well, just going back to that battle into turn number 1, I think Alex Gillen was smart there, because I was wincing as they were 3 wide down into turn number 1. Tuki backing out of it, Alex Gillen getting out of it as well, and then picking up the pieces as the Ferrari fell off the circuit. Ben, opportunistic as ever, picked up both of those spots and holding P6. This is beautiful as well for Infratic. 20 laps on his medium tyres, touch and go whether he could get them to the end. That would have to be a 38-lap stint for the Williams driver. He can now strap on a fresh set of boots as well and maintain that spot inside, maybe not the top 5, because grid jokes will probably stay out here, but at least comfortably inside the top 10.
Yeah, indeed. It's just throwing a spanner in the works, and yes, another one. I think the garages have run out of spanners to throw at this race. I think there's a lot of people coming into the pits, as you could imagine.
Look at that. Soft tyres for Lolly,
yeah.
Mediums for Razin.
Yeah, that is incredible, isn't it? I would have thought that you'd go on to the soft compound tyres at this point, but do they have a fresh set of soft tyres? The question has to be asked. Or are they just confident with the balance on the mediums? There's quite a few drivers that might be saying, I get a bit too much oversteer on the soft tyres, maybe I'll go mediums. So Karim on soft as well, as I don't think our telemetry has updated with tyre compounds for the moment. But yeah, a lot of drivers going softs there, and you'd imagine that, Grid Jokes actually has gained neatly out of this. He will be on slightly older tyres, but he's still in the mix at the front of the grid, as they say.
A lot of mediums. Meraki mediums, Infratic mediums, Tiamat Marduk mediums, Alex Gillen mediums. Tuki's put on hard tyres, so that's another bit of diversion there. Karim 17-4 can get reacquainted with grid jokes. I hope everybody, by the way, enjoyed the new safety car graphic. Gareth Allen has been absolutely dying to play that fuel. There's a lovely bit of work for himself behind the scenes, but that is not, I'm interested, and I'm also happy to see that diversion. Some favouring the soft tyres. Grid jokes pretty much had to stay out. His hand was forced to pit it at the wrong time. If he could have extended those mediums another 3 laps, hindsight is of course a wonderful thing. He would definitely be probably in the lead of this race, although I say that he had been caught by Lolly and Razzie, so he'd probably be P3 anyway, so just ignore that waffle that I've said for the last 30 seconds. And we will swiftly move on. Datkovic also staying out. He pitted 3 laps before the safety car was called. 3 laps on his medium tyres. Then you've got soft tyres for Chappers and Safso, and for Riccio 3 with Matt 2 on 2 on the mediums, also serving his 10-second penalty that he picked up for speeding in the pits. Concept, the only other driver not on mediums, he's elected for the hard tyres. And this is Razin saying this is where you see the difference in the tyre deg. The RB is slightly better on its tyres than the Haas. The Mercedes is much better on its tyres than the RB and the Haas. So everybody, they're diverging on strategy, they're going to converge on pace.
Yeah, certainly so. And I still think Razin has a card to play here, then being on the harder compound compared to everybody else around him. Track position is so important. So I would say there's no point being in P2 on a soft set of tyres because you are going to be stuck. You're better off playing the different strategy and trying to get an advantage toward the end of the race. And I think Lonova has a little bit of a pace advantage as well. So you've just got to roll the dice and see what happens. They will have, I won't say Grid Jokes is going to be slow, but they will have a buffer in that Grid Jokes may not have the absolute pace on the tyres to mount an overtake. So it'll be interesting to see on this restart. Obviously, Infratic gaining hugely from that pit stop, that free pit stop, and I think maybe this is the chance for a mental reset. Okay, qualifying didn't go well. Okay, first bit of the race we were in recovery mode. Now we need to switch to attack mode and go for it.
Well, Fabio's in an absolutely rotten run of form, just 1 point in the last 4 Grand Prix. 15th at the fan vote in Qatar a couple of weeks ago, surrounded by 2 DNFs and a P16 in Mexico. So this is a nice return to form for Fabio, who, like I said, only 1 point. His last meaningful result was finishing 3rd in the Monaco Sprint. Remember back to that chaotic race in the F2 cars where we had our 2025 version of Car Park Corner going through Saint-Devot. There were very much heroics into Saint-Devot there between Chesnoy Gaming and Scotty Designs, by the way. The safety car will probably stay out for another lap as everybody catches up to the back of the snake. I think the point there, you mentioned about Infratic. I think Alex Gillen's going to be aggressive as well. His charge was called. He was very, very quick. Has the fastest lap of the race. Was rapid on his set of medium tyres. Now has to overtake all of the cars in front of him. Get himself reacquainted with Tiernan Marlick, of course, as well. And we've got all the championship protagonists fighting over the same piece of tarmac again. Meraki 5th, Ben 7th, Gillen 9th. They're definitely going to be converging in a couple of laps. And with fast cars surrounded by them as well, this could very much be carnage in the remaining 15 laps.
Yeah, one person that's lost out hugely here is actually Concept F1 down in P16 on that different strategy on the hard compound tyres. Hasn't made it work like Alex and Safso have, to be fair, and that is really disappointing for them. Grid Jokes will be an issue, maybe for Ryzen. Yeah, I think he's got a point, especially on the restart where you can't get the tyres fully up to temperature perhaps, and you're just waiting for everything to kick in. What is going on here with Concept dropping
letting the lap cars through? I believe they're letting Lenz the Goat through. You can see the McLaren there just in the middle of the Aston Martin and the Red Bull car. Remember, on this game we don't have the feature where the lap cars can be let through, so you have to go off the circuit to make sure that they don't get an illegal overtake, as being demonstrated there by Matty 13 going through the S's of the first set. This might keep the safety car out for slightly longer. It could also cause a little bit of carnage because, well, if the safety car does come in at the end of this lap, I'm not 100% sure if Lenz will be able to wean his way all the way to the front of the train and then be allowed to overtake the safety car. So just keep an eye on that one. Watch that space very much. Championship-wise, we've mentioned Meraki, Ben and Gillen. Lolin over, 6th in the standings, 37 points off the back of the leaders. This would be a huge swing in his favour. Same for Razin as well. He's P5, 32 points back. If he can get the 25 points, plus maybe one for the cleanest driver, that's going to bring themselves right back into fray. Vince just struggling for pace a little bit. We could be back to a 5-car championship scrap.
Yeah, indeed. It's throwing just curveballs at this point in terms of the points, and it definitely doesn't help the front runners in terms of the championship standings that they are effectively playing catch-up this race, to be fair. They're all stuck in the midfield, and effectively with that tyre reset, as you've said, it just gives the opportunity for other drivers to get a hint of just form, if nothing else. You know, if you have a good, strong result, you sense that okay, maybe I don't have the points, but I have the pace at the moment, and I can use that to... Oh,
safety
late
car in
restart.
this lap. So late. It was pretty much at pit lane exit. We're not going to see the McLaren come through, and Lonanova has to very hastily slam on the anchors coming out of the Casio triangle, and now pins his right foot for a slightly belated restart, and Gridjoke's already under the cosh because Kareem 17 alongside when they run into turn number 1, eyeball to eyeball the Mercedes versus the Alpine, but the grip of the Mercedes hangs it out around the outside of 1, keeping it pinned through 2, but this time Kareem 17 has the high road, and Kareem 17 has a spot on the podium. Further back is Safso moving ahead of the Ferrari of Chappers in the battle for 11th and 12th. Lonanova galloping away out in front, checking out, trying to leave Razin in his wake. Kareem 17 though looks racy here at the restart.
I'll tell you what, Razin was saved by that as well, because Gridjoke's got a bad restart, and that meant that they weren't able to attack the medium tyres like they could have done on the soft. So Fratic being quite aggressive over the curbs as well. Meraki not getting a great restart, must be said. So it's all to play for the Williams driver here. They're both on medium tyres, so they will have an advantage toward the end. Let's see. Karim thinks he's got a race to win. Yeah, definitely. P3 is possible, but you need to get past Razin first. You need to effectively drop Razin from the top 2 and then fight it out with Lonanova. Will that happen? No idea.
McLaren off, lends the goat, going off on the run into Spoon Curve. Shouldn't be another safety car, but a confident Kareem 17. That is a dangerous Kareem 17. We saw it in Qatar, we saw it again in Brazil. Just getting into the flow is Kareem 17, season 9 champion. Let's not forget, he fancies himself here, challenging Razin and Lonanova, diving down the inside. Infratic battling away with Meraki just ahead of them. I think Alex Skinner was thinking about a move on Dak Gavitz as well. Meraki repels the assault from the Williams so far. No DRS to be enabled just yet, but still they're desperate to try and push the championship leader down a further spot, going defensive. The Williams doesn't care one jot about it, darting to the inside. But it's the confidence of the season 4 champion to cling on to P5 around the outside. Alex Gillen's still sinking his teeth into that. Gavitz trying to get himself ahead of the RB and get himself onto the back of one of his main championship rivals. Unable to do so at this stage, ducking and weaving underneath the rear wing of the RB car. Vince might be about to lose the DRS to the group of cars in front. That is what Gridjokes has done, and potentially Lolly's broken away as well.
Yeah, I just want to say it's lovely to see clean and respectful racing. It's always beautiful to spectate it, and it must be great to drive as well, as you're against another penalty, sadly, for the blue flags once again. So just the race going from bad to worse, to be fair, for the Williams driver. But yeah, just such great and just mindful racing, just demonstrating the skills of the drivers out there today. But as you said, yeah, Gridjoke's getting dropped here, and that is a disaster for Meraki, who, to be fair, is also under pressure from getting dropped to Gridjokes as well, and has done now 1 second. So this is turning into a bit of disaster for everybody behind them.
And this is Lonanova putting his foot down, same as Cream 17, dives to the inside into the Casio triangle. Will he give Razin the timer down the outside? Bit of a bump and a grind as the Haas makes for the runoff area, but it's going to be the Alpine on the inside through the final corner. Lonanova smashes the fastest lap, now 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack, but it's the Alpine in the ascendancy on the run down into turn number 1. Does dispose of Razin Chai and can hot-foot it after the race leader in Fratic. He tried it on the previous lap, this time he does get it done. Gets ahead of the championship leader Meraki, and now fighting over the same piece of tarmac as last week's race winner Tim McMardock, with Alex Giddens still stuck behind that guy Vince.
Now we will see the pace of Karim, because he's got 1.7 seconds to catch. He needs to at least catch 0.8 of a second, and yeah, have to let Karim by. That's a very strategic decision from Razin there, to just recognise that, okay, the tyres aren't up to pace right now. We'll have our chance at the end of the race, but we'll only get it if we're pulled along by a driver on the soft compound tyre. So a very good thinking mind at this stage of the race. It can be very difficult to sort out a strategy like that, but he's got his head on his shoulders, and firmly on his shoulders, and they will probably end up getting at least a bit of time back. 1.5 seconds, so 0.2 of a second have been gained so far. It looks like Karim does indeed have that pace.
The chase is now on, fastest first sector for the Season 9 champion, half a second quicker than Lonanova. Matt 2 on 2, pushing the second Scarlet Ferrari of Tukey through Spoon Curve, but a good run out of it. The Matt 2 on 2 is just going to have to bide his time on the run through 130R and into the Casio triangle. Razin Chai holding on to the coattails of Cream 17, the battle for second and third. A second and a half further back is Gridjokes, who's now going to be under pressure from Infratic. Fastest lap of the race goes the way of the Season 9 champion. 29.3, 3/10 of a second faster than the race leader. Meraki bumped down another spot. That's going to be crucial for the championship as Alex Gillen moves forward as well. Tim McMahon getting ahead of the Season 4 champion, with the reigning champion now hot-footing it after his teammate.
Yeah, indeed. And there probably won't be a switch because at the end of the day they are fighting over the points. And although Meraki probably has a bit less pace at this stage of the race, they're definitely going to try and take points off of each other. So don't expect any helping from either of them, to be fair. That guy Vince also still in the books to challenge if anything happens at the front of the pack as well. Although, again, the inconsistency that we saw in qualifying is not working itself out there. Meraki just, again, confirming that the pace is not where he wants it to be. And he's just trailing Tim McMarlick as well. He's struggling to get back onto Infratic's pace as well as in the midfield. Ricky challenging Matt 212 as well. He's got past, it looks like, just after the hairpin, and Tuki in front of them on the hard compound tires is doing a decent job just remaining in DRS of Chappers for the moment, but it could be a scenario where in one lap's time it won't be the case.
Fifth 10-second penalty for ignoring blue flags for Jorrit van Geffen, currently holding 19th in this race, but will pick up the wooden spoon come the end of the 53-lap Grand Prix, courtesy of the litany of penalties that he continues to pick up throughout this race. Green 17 has just fallen away ever so slightly, 2 seconds now, the gap out in front. Here comes Meraki back past Tim McMarlick into turn number 1, the championship protagonist, renewing the spoils once again, with Alex Gillen a further 1.3 seconds back, and Meraki returning the favour for what we saw Tim McMarlick do on the previous lap. Infratic hasn't managed to get up into 4th place just yet. Safso battling incredibly hard with that Gavitz through the S's of the first sector. Couldn't quite force the Aston Martin far enough alongside to earn the right of respect to Racing Room to battle his way up into 9th position. Has 2 Scarlet Ferraris waiting in the wings as well to try and push him down a further spot. 10 laps to go in this Japanese Grand Prix. The chase still very much on out in front, but as it stands, Lonanoba could be picking up a very important second win of the season.
Yeah, Karim is dropping pace here on the first, and that's an overtake after the hairpin. So something has gone on with Karim here, possibly just some balance issues with the car. But I noticed that the first sector was off by 0.3 of a second already. I will have to wait for the second sector time, but as you can see, Razin has got past without any DRS or anything, probably an overtake on the inside up into the hairpin. So, yeah, the mediums probably having a better turn of pace now, and we'll have to wait and see whether Razin can close that 2-second gap now. Looking at the sector times, yet again, Krim, 1 second loss, so that overtake happening, and Safso challenging that guy Vince. So that guy Vince's pace is just not there today, and it looks like he's made a mistake as well.
Unfortunately not for Vince. Safso, I think, he's going to make mincemeat of the RB car on the run down into turn number 1. The Aston Martins are both in a straight line, but just about with the helping hand. DRS gets through. I say that. Bit of contact, and he slides into the Alpine car. Car park through the centre S's, not the centre S's, the S's, as there's so many cars caught up in it. Safety car surely is going to be deployed. No, it's just a VSC. Chappers is thrown out of the race. His wheel was chucked off his car. No front wing for one of the Alpines in there. I think that's Ricky 03, and the full safety car has now been deployed. And that is going to bring Razin and Karim back up to the tail of Lonanoba. Safso was up the inside, but just lost the back end of the car, spun into the RB of that guy Vince, and everybody else went cascading into the side of them.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I tell you what, Lonanoba might have a chance to pit for a set of tyres. I mean, it's probably not a good idea, but there is the opportunity is what I'm saying, because there is a gap down to Map 212 that is about 20 seconds from Lonanoba. So it's possible. I'm not saying he should do it, but there is an opportunity to do it if you think that's a good idea. I wouldn't do it. The track position is key. But will we see anybody try it? I mean, if you're P2, P3, do you attempt it? Karim lacking a bit of confidence. Will he just try and bolt on a fresh set of tyres? Question marks. Lots of them at the moment.
Interesting. Lonanoba's definitely going to stay out, you would imagine. Relinquishing track position, as we've seen, is not entirely wise. So difficult to make overtakes. And if you fall out of the 1 second window of the cars in front, very, very challenging to try and get it back. I think we're going to see a game of chicken here. Who dives into the pits and who stays out? Lolly's in. No, he's not. Throwing the dummy. Everybody dummying into the pit lane. They do, in turn, all stay out. Alex Gillen as well, you can see in the background, staying out as well. Caught me off guard as well. I thought they were coming into the pits very late darting back out. Riccio 3 has no front wing. He's definitely going to be coming into the pits, along with all of the drivers that were caught up in that kerfuffle into turn number 1 on the previous lap. Matt 2 on 2 stays out along with Tuki. Matt 2 on 2 has a 3-second penalty looming over his head, so be mindful of that come race end. I tried to bait him, it almost worked. Almost baited us as well.
Yeah, well, there was that possibility. I think all of the drivers could see that gap and were like, if someone goes for it, I'm kind of forced to do that as well. So, yeah, that was an interesting one for sure. And I was thinking that they were all coming in also, just to back you up on that one, Tom. But yeah, it's that kind of stage in the race where your tyres are sufficiently worn that it is an advantage to be on a fresh set of tyres. And now that leaves it in an awkward position for people like Alex Gillen and Matt 212, because everybody behind them is going to be on a fresh set of tyres. So rather than attacking the people in front of them, they might actually play defensive now for the rest of the race, which, you know, for Alex and Tim McMarlick trying to score big points here, that might be detrimental.
100%. Proper sprint to the finish this now here in Suzuka. Lolonoba's got to do all the hard work all over again. Managed to break away to the tune of 2 seconds ahead of Razin and Kareem. Kareem and Razin and Kareem, they traded blows throughout that middle stint. Gridjokes didn't quite have the pace. 3-lap older tyres, I believe. Yes, 3-lap older tyres for the pole sitter. Managed to withstand the assault from Infratic, from Meraki, from Tim Roddick and Alex Gillen as well. So now we've got the top 3 in the championship, line astern on the road, fighting over the same piece of tarmac with nothing to separate them on track or in tyre spec as well. Matt 2 on 2 and Tuki rounding out your top 10. Watch for Dakar. Vince has lamented his lack of pace, but on brand new soft compound tyres, he's going to be pretty speedy in this final stint. People blaming that it was a purposeful safety car. I implore you to watch back people's POV, because that was definitely not a purposeful late race safety car. We had a car park going into turn 1. The VAC came out, and then the full course caution was deployed, which is why everybody has been brought back together, and we'll have probably a 5-lap sprint to the flag, with Lolonoba asserting his claim for a potential late championship charge, with 2 former champions lined up behind him.
Yeah, it was just a classic turn 1 mishap in terms of overtaking, just 2 people going for the same line, and as soon as the Aston Martin was sideways, that was basically the end of it, because they were parked on the apex and nobody could get out of the way in time at all. So yeah, while some incidents could be controversial, I don't think that one is quite controversial. Maybe the overtake in itself is controversial, that's for sure. But yeah, it does mean that the gap between Razin and Lolonoba is reset, and perhaps indeed those medium tyres now might have a better chance. But for sure, from Lolonoba's perspective, they've done all the hard work, they built the gap, and it's now been reset again, so that can be a tough one to take mentally, to, you know, just reset and go again. And hopefully this time the safety car doesn't decide to come in on the last corner of the lap.
Maybe you'll be hoping it does, because I think it did benefit him, to be fair, because he managed to get a late jump on Razin, because everybody was so flustered and had to be so quick in making sure they got back into a position for the restart. Big gap there was 4, because I think there's been some kerfuffles going on, letting the lap cars go through. 6 seconds between Tim McMarlick and Alex Gillen, as Matt 2 on 2 off the road through Spoon to allow Jurek van Gessen through. 43 seconds worth of penalties to his name. I can't remember what the record is for number of penalties in the Creator Series. I don't think he's breached it quite yet. We need to get to 60 seconds first before a disqualification might be looming. Matt 2 on 2, sorry, I think he might have driven into the side of Alex. The safety car is called in slightly earlier on this occasion than before. We've got a McLaren in there though. I think that's Lenz the Goat behind the top 3. Not good news for Gridjokes. He's rolling over for the second time. He's going to put his foot to the floor, and to start lap 48, 6 laps to go to the Japanese Grand Prix. We are racing, hopefully, to the flag. Razanchai into the slipstream. Can he make any impression down to turn number 1? The answer is a firm no, as the McLaren is still in between the Alpine and the Mercedes of Gridjokes. That's going to leave the Merc vulnerable to an assault from Infratic on this opening lap. But the Williams not too close to make a move through the sweeps, and now getting off the circuit goes the McLaren of Lenz the Goat, getting out of the way of the pack, who file on through. 0.4 of a second, a gap out in front. Lolonoba, we think he definitely has the pace to still win this race, but will those medium tyres bolted onto the Haas come to the forefront in the closing laps?
Yeah, Razdan quite aggressive on the overtakes as well, so I think Lolonoba just can't afford to become complacent anywhere on the track. This has to be inch perfect for the remaining laps of the race, and any lockups or anything that happens. As you can see, they're aggressive. I think from Timo Marduk, who's got a run on Meraki. Can he make it stick? It's going to be side by side into Spoon. Timo Marduk has to go all the way around the outside, and just the overspeed of Meraki, the shorter line, saves the day. But what an opportunistic move from Timo Marduk. It could have worked out, and that will just put Meraki on the back foot, maybe a little bit compromised now in terms of the mental game, that he can be so easily challenged into the hairpin. That guy Vince has got a run on Matt 212 as well. Will he attempt the overtake? He kind of has to, because he's on the fresher tyres round the outside into the Casio triangle. Oh, Matt nearly collecting Alex. That would have been a story, but they go side by side. They will be compromised in terms of pace, but it's now a drag race down to turn 1.
Both of them braking so late. Datkovic is going to be the joker in the pack, you would imagine, in the remaining 5 laps. Alex Gillen jinking all over the place, trying to potentially put Timo Marduk off into the braking zone of turn number 1. And that battle between the top 2 in the championship for 6th and 7th has pushed Jake out of the DRS range of the leading group of 5 cars. And that's going to make the championship battle even spicier, with Lolanova still holding first and Razzie Chai in second. Kareem 17 third, looking to pick up back-to-back podiums for the first time this season. Team radio from Timo Marduk. Let's go get him. Let's let him burn his battery. We know historically that Jake, not the best when it comes to battery management on the F1 games. I think he'll probably agree to that as well. The battle for 6th, 7th and 8th debated by the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. Equidistant, the leading group of 5 cars as well, as Jake just clinging onto the coattails of the Williams of Infratic. Riccio through on the fresh rubber, bumping Matt 212 down a further spot. I think the Mercedes, you would imagine, is going to be defenceless. He's going to try and fight it on the run up to Spoon Curb, but he's going to be on the outside. I don't think he's going to get the road there that he needs to try and battle back inside the top 10.
Look at that pace difference. He's already pulled 2 car lengths on Matt 212, so he's getting the traction down. And now the next target is for that guy Vince is Alex Gillen, but Ricky will be trying to also remain with that guy Vince and do the overtakes at the same time. Alex is going to have to go defensive, and that means he can't attack Timo Marduk, and we all know he wants to. So the gap will be increasing. Meraki still has the DRS's concept, gets another penalty. Timo Marduk getting a bit closer, but not possible to attack at the moment. But for Meraki, this is dire straits now, because he has effectively lost 3/10 on this lap, and losing the DRS will mean that he has to continue to drain the battery effectively. Look how much pace that guy Vince has. Alex is having to park the bus here, and he's going to have to make the car as wide as Sergio Perez does every single time we see him in an F1 car. This is now challenging Alex's racecraft, that's for sure.
100%. Those soft tyres seeing a very nice tune at the RB. But Alex Gillen, wise old fox that he is, knows how to hold on to places. Cream 70, whatever happens now, I'm not mad with the situation. I think that's because he saw he didn't quite have the pace to challenge Lonova before the safety car came out. So he's been given a reprieve, closed up to the back of the RB, but now has the Haas of Razzie Chai in between the RB and the Alpine car. First, second, third, darting through Spoon Curb, equidistant almost to the millisecond, separating with Grid Jokes and Infratic still rounding out your top 5. And then it's the top 3 in the championship, in the order they are in that championship, separated by 3 points. Remember, Meraki, Timo Marduk, Alex Gillen. Meraki 1.1 off the back of Infratic, 7/10 back to Timo Marduk and Alex Gillen, who's under the cosh from the soft tyre runners behind. Datkovic leading that assault. As we go through the Casio triangle, Razzie Chai was going to say, might he be thinking about a move? Now he's going to be on the defensive as he gets all out of shape going through the final few corners. Is this Cream 70's opportunity maybe to send it round the outside? Does the Alpine have the overspeed? The answer is a very firm no, and he has to sit and wait behind the Haas car once again with 3 laps to go. Alex Gillen still holding firm in 8th as well.
Lolanova giving the slipstream to Karim there to force an overtake, or force to side-by-side, so hopefully he could pull away. I mean, I'm not sure if that's intentional or just him taking the racing line, but he could have played that one differently, that's for sure. And I will say also, Gridjoke's doing a great job in just maintaining the pace on those slightly older tyres. Oh, what a snap that was from Meraki! Nearly lost it into the second Degner and nearly got it all over the curb, but that won't help his confidence. And we have a McLaren off. I think that's Lenz once again spinning it. Tyre wear starting to kick in, says Razin. Razin, you're on the mediums. You're meant to be attacking the car in front, not getting challenged. So this is an interesting one. Are the mediums sort of scrubbing and having a scrubbing effect on the track? We'll have to wait and see.
That's not the best on its tyres. Neither of the cars around. Karim 17 still tucked up underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari engine Haas car in front. We've got the McLaren of Lens very much face first with the barriers in the first sector, and now retiring from the race. Lonanova, Razin Chai, Karim 17, all three of them race winners, two of them champions, and it's Lonanova trying to make a late surge to throw himself into championship contention as we start the penultimate lap. We know the Italian stallion is running low wings. Can Razin Chai make any real impression with the helping hand of DRS? Once again, can't get close enough to challenge, but he fancies it down the inside of two. Razin Chai opportunistic, both of them thinking about the championship. Has he managed to muscle his way through as a bit of a shoulder barge, but now through the S's of the first sector, Razin Chai on the money. Razin Chai has the lead of this race.
All it took was 1 second of complacency. The door was left half open, and Razin was only so happy to just put the foot in the door and say, that is my gap, I'm going for it. What a defence, though, afterwards from Lonanova, just trying to use the tyres, but it was all in vain, and you can see Lonanova's quite probably frustrated about that, getting it all squarely off of Degner too, and leaving himself vulnerable to an overtake from Krim. He's wide into the hairpin. Krim might have a run here. No, battery being deployed, so Lonanova will probably have to defend. I think Razin is in the clear here, in the lead of the race. He's got 9/10 of a second. Wow, 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 what a end to the race. We've still got a lap after this one though, so it's all to play for, and now Lonanova is outside of DRS.
Saw his opportunity, chucked it up the inside into turn number 2 and did not look back. The script yet to be written for the final lap. For the first 52, it was Lonanova that was the man that couldn't be moved, but now very much under the microscope here. Is he going to get the DRS? I think he is. Karim 17 thinking the race win is gone. I would probably agree with him as Tim McMahon has managed to muscle his way past his main championship rival into the Casio triangle. Jake bumped down into 7th, overtakes all over the show as we start the final lap of the Grand Prix. Karim 17, does he have the straight line speed in the Alpine to add to Lonanova's misery? The Italian stallion drops down a spot. Tim McMahon versus Alex Gillen into turn number 1. Meraki back up into 6th place. Dak Govins nibbling at the heels of the trio in front of him as well. It's Meraki from Benz from Alex Gillen. Somehow they're still in the same order that they started the previous lap.
That battle isn't over though, because a lot of people have drained their battery. Meraki was under pressure and had to drain the battery and overtakes Team McMurdoch just to defend from Alex. So has Alex got any battery to spare? Who has the remaining energy down that last straight onto the Casio Triangle? There's a car. Safso off, yeah, indeed rejoins just into the path of Matt 212, keeps it on track, but those tyres are completely full of gravel. That is Infratic, I think, defending from Grid Jokes. Grid Jokes
dive down the inside. He's managed to steal 4th place. He's pocket pinched the Mercedes with a buzzer beater on the final lap. Opportunistic stuff from Infratic, and it might have netted him P4 in this race as those soft tyres continue to degrade for the ailing Mercedes car. But for Razin Chai out in front, he's had to sift and wait behind a number of cars that have held the lead. But our very own Creator Series Rockstar has managed to rock the road ahead of Cream 17 and ahead of Lonanova. It took just one opportunity. The door was ajar on the penultimate lap, and he absolutely plundered his way through, rounding the Casio Triangle for the final time. The Season 5 champion back in contention for the Season 11 champion. On the podium again, on the top step again is Razin Chai, who beats Karim 17. He beats Lonanova. Infratic and Grid Jokes round out your top 5. The top 3 in the championship stay in that order. Meraki, Tim McMark and Alex Gillen. Datgo, Vincent, Riccio 3 round out your top 10. Matt 2-on-2 and Concept 7 with their penalties tumble. Safso took a trip through the gravel on the last lap through the Degners, and the Season 1 champion picks up nil points. Tukey down in 17th as well. Must have had some kind of malady on the last lap. With Jorik van Geffen, with all of the penalties he's been picking up this race, as Tukey spins it round the final corner. We got the donuts, everybody. It's not the season finale just yet. The reverse entry drift from the Ferrari. But it was Razin Chai. We take that back on the top step. It's been a little while for the Season 5 champion, but he launches himself back into play for the championship.
Got to respect the donuts as well. We love seeing that, even though it isn't for a championship. It might be to celebrate all of the penalties, to be fair. But what an end to the race right there. I mean, you couldn't write that script if you tried. Just the amount of little incidents, little bits of oversteer. I mean, yeah, that was just grandstand finish. And yes, the safety car had a lot to play into that, but at the end of the day, you've got to be opportunistic. You've got to not leave the door open. I think for Lonanova, he just got a little bit complacent, and well, all Razin needed was one opportunity.
That one opportunity he grabbed with both hands, and is that the championship back on for Razin Chai, with his main rivals finishing 6th, 7th and 8th. Great day again for Karim 17, back-to-back podiums. for the first time this season. Back-to-back second places. The bridesmaid the last couple of weeks. Can he go one better in 7 days' time? We'll have to wait and see. But it is Haas atop the podium. It is Razinchai back on the winner's step with Cream 17 and Lolanoba rounding out the podium. Wasn't to be for Lolly, but very important day for him in the championship as well. Very much still in the ballpark. Couldn't quite strike out, but still in the fray and still with a big, big opportunity going into the final couple of races.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this blows it wide open, doesn't it? You know, you've got drivers that are quite literally on form, and you know the front three are in terms of championship standings are struggling, aren't they?
100%. You would say probably a bit of a frustrating day for those top three. And look at that, the awards, race winner and cleanest driver for Razinchai. So that's another point for his championship total. Fastest lap for Kareem 70. I didn't see the other two. Alex Gillen was on there though. Razinchai, Kareem 70, Lolanoba, your podium sitters. Infratic, hats off. Potentially driver of the day from 16th on the grid. Got the strategy on point. Got a bit of luck from the safety car, but does come home for his best finish in a few weeks P4. Grid Jokes, the pole sitter in 5th, ahead of Maraki. Tim and Malik and Alex Gillen, the top three in the championship, not finishing on the podium. Dak Gavins, Riccio 3, Super Noodle Bagel, Matt 2 on 2, Chesnoid Gaming, Concept and Saf, so your top 15, although I think Matty D was in there, retiring on the last lap, with Chappers and Lens the Goat failing to see the finish. We got the grandstand finish, didn't we, Kieran? As John was saying, probably not the race winner that we thought before the safety car came out, though.
I have to say, it was, as I said, in the early stages of that race, it was all about drivers were sort of questioning whether it was going to be a one-stop, whether it was a two-stop. It was relatively, you know, that battle of strategy at that early stage. And until those two late safety cars, which I don't know what the virtual Bird Myland is doing with that very late call. It's probably not his call, actually. But either way, so two late calls for the safety car to pit in. I'm surprised we didn't get more carnage than we did on those restarts. Nevertheless, it was all about keeping the tyres in check. And I feel for Lolino, but that second safety car kind of ruined his chances of really, you know, getting those